I'm Joseph Norton from 232 Hobbs Lane. 3, 4, 5. They haven't. I'll give you one especially.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
I just asked the board's indulgence because I know we want to keep the 5-minute rule. In my third paragraph, which begins, "My attorney notified," if you wouldn't mind, please, after the building inspector, make a possessive case inspector's office.
Notified the building inspector's office.
Office. My attorney could not talk to the building inspector. I'm buying a property close to me on 4 houses down. And there are 2 issues in this letter. One, which we'll get through in 30 seconds because I understand there might be some movement on it. I basically requested that a look be done at the property because I thought something was not right. And I do not want to be caught in violation of anything. And the building inspector told me that it is a violation. And I basically requested that it be put in writing and we could do something about it before the closing, which is due in a couple of days. The bigger issue I have is, everyone's familiar on Hobbs Lane, there's the old Pendergast farm, and George subdivided the house originally, and maybe 7 acres plus or minus, and the barn, and sold it. And the man who bought it was Simon of Pleasant Valley, who was going to remodel the place and then stripped it down, tried to save the house, realized it was a waste, gutted it, buried it, burned it. That property is a toxic landmine. And along the way, it's now back on the market, which we have a new culture that you can buy something for a price, destroy it, and then try to sell it for the exact same price minus the house, because what the heck. But what's got me concerned is, it now, in my investigations, after having talked to the building inspector almost a month ago, I was approached by individuals on my property looking for the place to buy meat. And I realized and went up and actually witnessed it and photographed it. There were almost 50 cars there one Saturday morning of people coming from miles around. And one guy had a MapQuest looking for a place to buy this meat, which turned out to be Pendergast Sold Barn, which you can't even allow cows in there because it's so dangerous. There is no electric, there is no water, there's nothing. And there's some gentleman was selling meat that I reported to the building inspector, and I also reported to Ag and Markets, who did some investigation and determined that it is not really a farm operation. It's somebody bringing meat from some other place and then claiming it's farm raised on something that's not really a farm, and unloaded a load of this stuff. And they did bring a generator. That seems to have abated, give and take, because I don't know what's going on. And I did make a report asking the building inspector to look into this. Subsequent to that, I discovered several really busted up animals on the property I'm about to buy, and realized that they had come from this property across the street because the gentleman is a leaser. I guess that's the word. He's leasing the property from Simon while Simon's trying to sell it. And he's a butcher. So it appears, I'm in conjecture, and that's the problem. I think there is butchering going on and selling of the meat. And some of these animals are really ill-treated. And more importantly, they're all over the road. There is no fencing on a lot of the animals. And that's why I've got them down at my place. And, you know, I called ASPCA. They are coming and they are looking, and they have been very active about it. My problem is, if anybody knows Hobbs Lane, I'm concerned that it is really a road, as Dak Brennan used to say, that was designed to get a milk truck in and out from the old Pendergast place. It's really a lane and a half in width, especially when you get up that hill going toward George's and you make the turn. And if you notice, when you come up my road, we have this gigantic oak tree that is on the property I'm buying. And one of the reasons I'm buying that property, for a lot of reasons, knowing the owner, she passed away, and that oak tree. That is one of the last oak trees in this area that looks like oak trees used to look 500 years ago here. On the original geodesic surveys that were done when Washington's people were up here in 1790s, that is a boundary marker. And what's going to happen with all these animals running wild, not by their own intent, but by their neglect, is somebody's gonna get clobbered trying to avoid an animal, and one of my ducks was killed, that road gets real high speed, and they're gonna hit that tree. And the next thing that's gonna happen, because over the years, I've had it with Gary Camburn, and subsequently we get to a certain head where, you know, the tree's in the way, time to make it move. And we've been really trying to save that tree, and as soon as somebody gets killed on it, it's gonna be deemed a nuisance or a hazard. And all of this could have been avoided if we would get down to this property and find out what is going on. When a person can buy into this town for several months, wreck hell on a piece of property, bury stuff illegally, not put special barricades around an incredible open ditch that used to be a foundation, allow animals to run around, then decide to sell it and bring a guy in that God knows who he is, where he comes from, who's running a business, and nothing gets done. My frustration is I'm more than willing to do it, as I've done with the ASPCA and I have done with the other appropriate agencies. But the problem, sir, is those agencies don't want to talk to an individual. This is the new age of law. They prefer to talk to an administration of the town. They don't like to share certain information with me. So I've got the whole case in this letter. I put it before the board to notify you, ask you to look into it. I hope to come back to you in a couple of months about the tree and prove to you on the maps that this is something worth preserving formally. But unless we do something, we've got something running amok that keeps growing and it's getting out of control. And if there's a violation on a property, it should be dealt with by the current owners of that property and not wait for the guy to buy it and get stiff to deal with it. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Joe.
And if there's any questions, I'll be glad to ask you, and anybody wants a tour, or you really want to see it, please come to my place, I'll give you a tour.
You said you were closing in a few days?
About 10 days. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope I stayed 5 minutes. I talk fast.
Would anybody else like to speak? Carol.
Hi, I'm Carol Allen from Hobbs Lane. It has nothing to do with it. However, it sounds familiar.
Hobbs Lane is obviously the place to be these days.
Or not to be
Not
these days,
to
but I have to agree with Joe, and I didn't stand up to talk about that, but it's a horror over by George's old farm. And those chickens are running all over the place, and it's that big hole in the ground, it's just horrible. So whatever we can do to help, Charlie, I'm sure certainly be there. My question is about the new garage and the committee, and it's a question, and I don't know whether this is not a dialogue, but I was wondering who is on the committee, because I know that it's a current issue now, and we're really talking about going forward or bringing to the public what's going to be happening with the new garage. So I was wondering if there is a formal committee on it, if it had a chair, and who is involved.
The chair is Bob Cadwallader. Duffy Layton is on the committee, and Bob Cadwallader. Tom, you are the liaison to the highway committee?
No, garage is,
Henry's on the committee too.
Henry Boringer is on the committee.
Chris.
Chris on the committee.
Mhm. Yes, as well.
There's more people on the committee? Just, or is it just those three?
No.
Just that?
It's Henry, Duffy, Bob, myself. Tom shows up.
We want some more.
Tom shows up.
Now that he's retired.
Now, like Topsy, the committee seems to have grown. Are you on, you are part of the committee?
Apparently I am, yeah.
Much needed addition.
Excuse me, can I just comment on that? Is that legal to have somebody on the board who's on a committee that the board's going to vote on what they recommend? I know we went through this last year with the Codes Committee, with having board members on the Codes Committee and voting on what the Codes Committee did. Just a question.
It's something we have to look into.
If it's not legal, I'll step down.
Me too.
I was on it prior to being on the board.
Right.
Or recuse himself.
Or you could recuse himself when the vote comes, but
And I'll do that.
Bill, if you could give us some
If you
advice.
have two people recuse yourself, then you've got to get all
Right.
three remaining board members. So
Right.
I can try to get you